So, welcome to Slick Slices. Now, start with this. This letter arrived with two of the knives that I'm going to show you today. It says Craftsmanship's Alive, comes from Taylor's Eyewitness, Sheffield. And this comes in you get a nice little gift box for these knives. Inside the nice little padded, bespoke little box. And this letter is signed, in this case, by a guy called Lee White. Now, both of the knives I'm going to show you from Taylor's Eyewitness were made by Lee White. He made these knives, and we're talking about these two here, from scratch. So he polished all the pieces, assembled all the pieces, did what we were about to see, the beautiful back file work on these knives, polished them up and did them from start to finish. These are proper craftsman knives made in a way which Obadiah Barlow, who introduced the Barlow design back in 1690, would have recognised right then till today. They're exactly the same sort of quality and style of manufacture. Perhaps some of the machines have improved, but there's no CNC machining or anything here. These are done by hand. They come with not especially wonderful, probably 420 or 440 stainless steel blades. They do come very, very sharp. But the important thing about them is this one here is this beautiful buttery ram's horn. I don't know if it comes over on the film very well, but it's just beautifully done. It has a lovely luster to it. These knives are made with a steel back spring, which is filed by hand with a pattern that goes along the blade as well, right up to where the little brass thing is. We'll come to that in a minute. They have brass liners. They have, as I say, this one has ram's horn sides and scales rather, and the extended bolsters that you would expect of a Barlow knife. They're stamped with the Taylor's Eyewitness logo. Now, well, this focuses. On the ricasso, it also has Taylor's Eyewitness Sheffield. Plain on the other side, except the bolster still has the Taylor's Eyewitness logo. Now, these are the other one here. Sorry, I'll just show you the other one as well. The other one is Mother of Pearl, which is just the most beautiful knife I own. The Mother of Pearl is just a lovely thing. This one has Mother of Pearl, black liners, brass liners. Of course, the file work on the back as well goes all around the end. All done by hand, all assembled by hand, all polished and ground by hand by Mr. Lee White. So I have two of those. Now, these have a particularly stiff action, but I have to take them off camera to fold them because they're just too stiff. But one of the things that I love about these knives is this. When you look at the end, when they're folded, everything is beautifully square. Now that leads to quite a stiff action there. You might wonder what I'm talking about. Well, let me just show you another knife for comparison. Any other one. This is a good quality knife. You see in the end, it's not very good, doesn't show very well on the screen. Stainless steel version. You see how that's all open and you can see sort of the mechanics and machinery. These just beautifully square. And when you put them on the half stop, they have a half stop, you have the same thing. Lovely square end to the blade. Just really smart. Now, that's one type of Sheffield made knife. And Sheffield is in England, for those of you who are abroad. It has a huge reputation for making steel and for making cutlery from the steel. These other three knives are from another long-standing traditional Sheffield knife maker. This one though is Arthur Wright. Now Arthur Wright is the same sort of thing, the handmade knives, but they don't come with a little letter telling you who made them. These ones come wrapped in a bit of plastic bag. That is their entire thing. There's no box, and I think in a way that's a reflection of what these knives actually are. The first one, the top one here, is a proper working knife. It's got rosewood scales. There's none of the fancy back filing. Fit and finish is it fits where it touches, but there are lots of places where it just doesn't fit, and so it doesn't touch. But you know, this was 20 quid. This here was 200. So you kind of expect that. What is unforgivable with this knife, and in fact with all of these three Arthur right now, is it came blunt, absolutely blunt, and I don't mean not very sharp. I mean blunt. They were almost butter knives and had to be sharpened from scratch. This one here is also a bit of a cheap one from them as well. This again was 20 odd quid. This is a pruner. Now, funnily enough, I was given a pruner by my son, which is this one here. Now, the problem with this one is it has a lock. So a lock back makes it in the UK illegal, even though the blade is of similar size. So I thought I'll buy one that doesn't have a lock, because I find it really useful. This style of knife is great when if you want to open a box, for example. It's good for that sort of cut. It's great for cutting sort of string or anything like that, where you want to, you pull something around that and cut. So I thought, well, I'm going to buy one. So I bought this one. It was, it was pretty cheap. I think might have even been cheaper than this one. I think this was £23 from Heine Haynes. No, however, the quality is what you might call rustic. In other words, I don't know if you can see that, but it's nowhere near symmetrical, and the fit and finish, particularly at the tail there, is awful. Design's nice though. There's a nickel silver end cap as well as the bolster, brass pins, brass liners, steel back spring, stainless steel. No, there's a carbon steel blade. All the Arthur Wright knives have carbon steel rather than stainless steel blades, which means it probably will take on a bit of a patina. It doesn't really have a patina, it's just not very clean. But that's because I use this knife. I use this knife quite a lot. It actually lives on my desk, and it's one that I reach for regularly if it's either that or I go for my Benchmade 940, which gets a lot of use if for no other reason than because even with my dodgy hands, you can open it just like that, and when it comes to closing it, likewise. But otherwise, this one gets quite a lot of use. These two, the last one of the Arthur Wright ones here, this is their equivalent of one of these, with the file work. But frankly, it's just not up to the same standards. I mean, for a start, the logo on the ricasso is only half stamped. It's illegible. Now, that seems to me a real nonsense. This one has horn grips, but there is absolutely no patterning in the horn except for a very light bar along by the lower ricasso. No work done on the bolsters at all. What it does do quite nicely is a bit of file work on the back, and actually this would be worth trying to get into focus. You'll notice that there's some sort of organic looking file work up the back spring, but there's also some file work on each of the brass liners. So, you know, in theory, this is quite a nice knife. It's just not very well executed. And what is, as I say, what's a real killer that really lets it down is the fact that, yet again, this arrived with me absolutely blunt. Well, there we are. They are my 5 Sheffield Knives. Tailor's Eyewitness, I highly recommend. These are 2 of my most prized possessions. Arthur Wright, they're okay, but nothing really to write home about with them. This one could be nice, but 60 quid? Finish like that? I don't know. 23 quid for that? Yeah, I can live with it. 25 quid for that? Yeah, it's a working knife. It's a good solid knife. I like the sheep's foot blades. Well, this is sheep's foot. They call this one a lamb's foot, which is just because it's smaller. And obviously this is the pruner. And these are the Barlow knives, which are a very, very traditional knife from a company that's nearly 150 years old. It's just, you know, if you're going to collect knives, particularly UK knives, UK legal knives, nothing to beat it.